Hi there, I'm Elise Dewsberry from New Musicals Inc. We are the producers of the web series So Proudly We Hailed, and I'm here today with Brenda Garcia, who is the subject of our episode titled The American Dream. Now, Brenda, I understand that as a young woman, you lived in the Los Angeles area and were very interested in getting involved in the movie industry in Hollywood, but then you were inspired to join the Navy after watching a particular movie. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I since I was a little kid, I wanted to be an actor on stage, and then grew up wanting to be doing film, and then it was just, the world was a lot different back then. It wasn't as diverse as it is now, and so my acting career was just going nowhere. And I had just finished college. Top Gun was a huge hit at the box office, and it was like, you know what? I'm going to get out of town for a little while, go see the world, and come back and try again. I had no idea what was in store for me, but I knew the Navy, at least with the Navy, I would be stationed near some water. I'm from LA. I like to be by the beach. So I knew I would be by, a body of water somewhere.
Oh, that's great.
That's what
Um,
happened.
and I know that by the end of your career, you retired as a lieutenant commander, and you spent some time working as a photographer's mate when you were posted at the White House, which is not near a body of water.
It was
But
in the DC area, kind of the Potomac River, small, but
something, I guess, yeah. Can you talk to us a little bit about because I know you were at the White House through two different administrations. Can you talk to us a little bit about that experience?
right. Well, I was the photographer's mate. Photographer's mate is a big umbrella for journalists, videographers, photographers. So I was this video photographer. And the White House, the presidency has a video crew that follows their activities, the events for the presidential libraries and the National Archives for the official record. So I was stationed at the Naval Media Center, which housed, the Navy archives, the Navy photography, but there was a video production department there. And so I got stationed there, and it was like, I wanted a career in movies, and I had no idea I was going to have to join the Navy to do that. So it was a video production. We were shooting industrial. So I learned a lot about lighting, cameras, makeup, sound, all of the production behind the scenes and what all of that entails. Well, in this building is, small office, White House TV. And my roommate at the time was part of the crew. And I just loved the fact that she would come home after, we went to Spain, we went to Argentina, we just traveling all the time in all of these wonderful places. Like, I want to do that. I want to do that. So took a deep breath, talked to the boss there, and he was like, can you pass the security clearance? I think so. I grew up pretty squared, I think so. And I didn't know that they were going to be watching me for a year, making sure that, ethically I was, a good worker and all. And they put in the paperwork for my security clearance, and they said, okay, you're on the crew. I go, what? I get to travel. I get to fly aboard Air Force One. It was just mind boggling. I had no idea. And then I had no idea it was going to be even better than I thought it would be. Every day was historical. Every day, I had the goosebumps, like, oh my gosh, I'm from La Fuente, California, a little town east of Los Angeles, and Latina on top of that, like, working at the White House, it was like telling me, oh, you're going to go to the moon one day. Like, oh, no. So it was pretty exciting. And then to do that for two administrations was even more of an eye-opener.
I know it would be a little bit tough to pin it down, but do you think you could talk about perhaps one of the most exciting things that happened when you were there under President Bush, and then maybe something exciting that happened under President Clinton?
Oh, there's so many. Just off the top of my head, President Bush, I was there for the presidential campaign, the 92 campaign when he was running against then Governor Clinton. And I grew up in Los Angeles. I grew up in a big city. So I never really traveled around the country. And to see the thousands of people, the thousands of Americans coming people took their kids out of school to see their president speak, to go to a rally. And I saw the protesters, they were in a certain area for protesting. And I just thought, we live in the best country in the world, that you can go and you can tell the president, that you're passionate about this topic, and you can say, I don't agree with you, and people were passionate about what they believed in. There were people selling buttons and T-shirts, and the local high school bands were playing, and the local singers. And it was, the apple pie and baseball. It was seeing the small towns, taking trains to the small towns, taking the helicopters to the small towns, and going to the bigger cities. It was, I was introduced to America. That, growing up in Los Angeles, I thought, who wants to go anywhere else? We have the beach, we have the mountains, we have this, great weather year round. But wow, we have a wonderful country. That's what I learned from President Bush. And then with President Clinton, I'm Catholic. And when he met the Pope in the first time in Denver, Pope John Paul, now Saint, I think it's Pope Paul the Great, Saint Paul the Great. When he met the Pope, I was the camera person for that shoot. And I was, oh my God, it was this, I have to do my job, because this is obviously going to go down in, be put in the National Archives of Service meeting with the Pope and, his library. So I had to do my job, but I was just, what can I do to make the Pope look at me, without getting in trouble? Like, oh my God, there he is, 10 feet in front of me. So that was one of the many highlights of working there.
Fantastic. I know there was another moment with Clinton that I remember you talking about when your mother got to meet President Clinton.
Oh, oh yeah. I love my mom, and it's funny because this is very telling of who she is. She passed away, so I told the story at her eulogy this year that she treated everybody the same. It didn't matter your background. It didn't matter. It didn't matter your position. Everybody was the same. And the presidents, if you work at the White House, you do get an opportunity to bring your family, your friends to meet, the president when he goes on to the helicopter to go to Andrews to go on a trip. And it was one of those days. I go, Mom, you're going to meet the president. So we got there early, waited. The president came in, and by this time, it was already a few months. So he recognized me. He knew me. So, Mr. President, this is my mom, and he just told her, your daughter is doing a fine job for me. No one else could fit in the South Lawn because my ego was this big, right? And so after, he got into the helo and he flew away, I just, Mom, the president of the United States just told you that your daughter is doing a fine job for him. What? Oh my God, what do you think? And she was like, I'm just glad your boss thinks you're doing a good job. I like, okay. She burst my bubble that day, but like, okay, I get it. You treat everybody the same, but it was a moment. It's very telling of who my mother was.
That's a great story. On a slightly different topic, Brenda, how did you hear about our project, So Proudly We Hailed, and what made you decide that you wanted to apply for it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, I belong to, there's a veterans group. It's cross country, but there's quite a few members in Los Angeles called Veterans in Media and Entertainment. And they post jobs, casting, things that you're looking for veterans to do certain projects. And I saw, I subscribed to their email, and like, a musical. I grew up loving musicals. It's what I love doing. And this is different. Okay. And so I wanted to apply. And my story is very unique. You think of, a person that's, been in the Navy, like what ship were you on, deployments, were you in Afghanistan? I had none of those experiences. Mine was very different. And so I thought, well, I've always said for every sailor, there's this story. And this is, my experience, and it is different. So let's see if this is something you would be interested in putting music to. So I just, okay, let's see where it goes. And I didn't think anything of it. It's LA, it's show business, you get rejected all the time, so you don't hear anything. And then, I was getting the emails, like during the process, like, you're one of the finalists. Like, what? What? Oh my God. And then when I got that, like your story has been selected, I was thrilled. I was absolutely thrilled. So I was so glad to even hear about New Musicals Inc. doing projects like this and in this format in musicals and collaborating with a group of people to bring these stories into this art form, So thank you for that. People are inspired by true stories. They're moved by true stories. And to put these stories into a musical or format is very empowering and very inspiring, very moving. So I'm just glad that NMI does this, and I'm just beyond excited that my story was chosen.
Well, that sort of leads into my next question, because I know that you are obviously an actress here in Hollywood, and you're also a writer, and I know you've written a memoir yourself about your adventures at the White House. So I wanted you to talk a little bit about how does it feel after having written the stories out in a memoir? How did it feel to then translate them with your team into a musical version?
Well, I wrote the memoir, and I have so much more respect for writers because I had no idea. I've never written a memoir or a story like that, or fiction or nonfiction, and to present. So what was good is that the stories were still fresh because rewriting and rewriting and rewriting. So it stayed in my memory, and all the photos that were taken during that time. And when you chose the team in translating I was so, at least I was so nervous about it. I remember writing you like, what am I going to say that's exciting to be translated into a musical? And you just, don't worry about it. They're nice ladies, they're talented ladies, like, oh my gosh. And I had a ball with them. And that it was an all-female team. So that was empowering. And I was impressed with the speed that they were able to, just take what I was saying throughout the process and write some beautiful lyrics and catchy tunes. And how did they do that? So I am in awe. I am grateful for people who have that type of talent.
Absolutely. And your team was Amy Andrews, who wrote the book and the lyrics, and Isabel Guzman, who wrote the music, and Dana Iannuzzi, who was helping out as your dramaturg. And I know everybody was in a different time zone, so that made it even more difficult. But they were a great team. And how did you? I know that you got excited when you first started hearing the music that Isabel was writing. How has that affected you, hearing the actual songs?
Oh my gosh. Well, I know just the fact that, because La Puente means bridge, in the bridge in Spanish, and so they really took that theme, the bridge to the future, and just how creative it was. And I'm not kidding. It's like I sing the tune, and it brings me joy. I know people from La Puente. It's a small community, are going to be thrilled about this. The Latin side of Los Angeles, will be happy because they know where La Puente is. But I was amazed at the speed and the talent that this blossomed into. Oh my God, I'm familiar with that girl. And it's kind of an out of body experience that I'm watching. I'm thrilled for me watching this process happen.
Great.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
It does. Absolutely. Thanks, Brenda. To wrap up a little bit, is there anything else that you feel like you'd like to say, to the world at large about how it feels to be able to share your stories of your military experience?
Yes. There are a couple of things. I was really impressed that you wanted a female crew. And I've never really worked on an all-female crew. I just retired from the Navy this year. I had my Navy ceremony this year, and I had an all-female ceremonial guard. And my guests who attended, it was like that was the highlight for them, to see all women in the ceremonial guard. And I heard words of, "It gives me hope." And I said, this is really powerful. And I'm just getting that and working with the female crew and seeing the beautiful piece that they put together. It's very empowering, and that women together can really do amazing things, and so our stories need to be told and been brought out. So I was really happy that was something you wanted to do. Like, I wanted to have a female team to do this. I'm very grateful for that. And with the military, I do get a lot of people who think the military is reflective of America, in that we do have people who are suffering, and they need help, and to have resources available to them. They served our country. They gave their everything to give to our country. And they deserve to be whole again. And they need to have those resources and available. Having said that, there are many of us who didn't have those experiences, who have are thriving in their own communities as leaders, as business people, parents, and it's not everyone is wounded. And, and so it is, what I'm finding is people say, oh, like, what, how was it for you? Like, I'm fine. I'm fine. The people who are sick or wounded need help. But there's a great number of us that are, great in the office space and creatives, that can do act and work and write. So it is a reflection of America.
Very interesting, Brenda. Thank you. Well, I want to thank you again. I want to thank you very much for sharing your story and opening yourself up to your team. And I know it's been very exciting to see it get passed on to your director, Claudia Duran, and your performer, Stephanie Rojo, and they've done a wonderful job. So I do hope that everyone, once we release the episode, that everyone will tune in and have a look at The American Dream. And Brenda, thanks again for your story and for your service and for being a part of this. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for all you do. Thank you. And for keeping to bring these stories to light. Thank you.